with saying that the views expressed by the speakers don't necessarily represent those of the host or the affiliated organizations. Oh, just to give a little background on the series today, it's being hosted and organized by the Tribal Community Resilience Liaisons from across the country, with support from the Southwest Climate Adaptation Science Center, or CASC, our comms team from this region. And we work really closely with the USGS, National and Regional Climate Adaptation Science Centers, or CASCs, which you can see the map for all the different CASC regions there. And these are partnership-driven programs that team scientists with natural resources managers and communities to help wildlife, fish, water, land, and people adapt to a changing climate. And each regional center is hosted at a university alongside a consortium of other universities and organizations within their respective regions. Um, and so for every CASC, except for the Pacific Islands CASC, the Bureau of Indian Affairs branch of Tribal Community Resilience contributes funding to the Tribal Community Resilience Liaisons through agreements with universities, tribal nations, and tribal organizations. So, like Kinzer and Jana were saying, they're affiliated with the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance. And for me, I didn't mention this, but I'm associated with the American Indian Higher Education Consortium here in the Southwest region. That's our tribal org. Oh, oh, okay, great. I was gonna mute that person, but there you got it. So yeah, so us as the tribal community resilience liaisons, we work with BIA, USGS, the CASCs, and our host organizations to support tribal adaptation and resilience. And then just a little bit of information about the what the TCR liaisons do. We're basically available to provide support at any stage of an environmental project related to climate adaptation and resilience, or I guess I should say just generally adaptation and resilience, including brainstorming what kind of projects may make sense for your community or nation. So we could help with things like climate vulnerability assessments, adaptation plans, relevant grant applications, and provide trainings for tribal technical staff. And if your regional liaisons don't have the expertise to support some part of your work, we can connect you to someone who does. And you can find your regional TCR liaison through the BIA or USGS links that I think we'll be able to put in the chat shortly. And tribal staff can reach out to us for support at any time. So yeah, this is an ongoing series, and we would definitely invite you to register for all the sessions if you would like. So if you haven't already, you can register for the remaining sessions, and you can definitely share this with your friends or colleagues if it's interesting to them. So we hope that you'll join us again for next month's session, which will be on forestry on June 4th. And I think we can put the registration link in the chat, hopefully. And then I think with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Jana and Kinzer to introduce our guest speakers. And let me stop sharing this really quick.
Thank you, Anissa. Kinzer can share her screen. Welcome, everyone, to our Tribal Community Resilience webinar series focused on water. I'm really excited for today's conversation and especially excited to introduce our speakers, Issabelle and Doug. Over the past couple of years, I've had the chance to get to know both of them, and I can honestly say they are truly wonderful people. They each bring so much knowledge, heart, and dedication to this work, and they also bring a spirit of kindness and humor and care that makes working with them such a gift. I'm incredibly grateful that I get to work closely with both of them. Issabelle Provost works for the Yankton Sioux tribe as their Section 106 Water Quality Coordinator and also serves as the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance Secretary. And Doug Provost works for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe as their Director of Water Resources and serves as the Chairman for the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance. I know everyone joining us today is going to learn so much from their experiences and perspectives, and I'm really honored to have them here with us today. So please join me in welcoming Issabelle and Doug. And I'll pass it over to Isabel.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or morning, whatever it is where you're at. Um, I am the water quality coordinator for the Yankton Sioux tribe. We are right there on the southeast side of South Dakota, right there on the border of Nebraska. So we're right along the Missouri River. And as a 106 water quality coordinator, I just work to sample the sample the surface water near and on our reservation. And I'm also the secretary for the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance. And I've been a part of the Water Alliance for about almost coming up to 3 years now. And I've also been working this position for about 3 years now as well. So through the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance, they've helped me greatly, my program and my tribe. um, with the help of Jana and Kinzer and our other employees, Ranique Beck and Asmal Hassan. They have helped us apply for grants that benefit our tribe, more specifically, the Drought Vulnerability Grant, which would be utilized to help study and combat drought in and around our reservation. Um, So we work with our tribal master contractor. Right now, we're currently in the process of drafting the drought vulnerability assessment and a drought adaptation plan. So two documents that would help our tribe combat drought. So the struggle, our struggles have mostly been due to the higher up administration changes. There was, as everyone knows, there was some funding issues in the beginning of the first fiscal year regarding federal grants. So we're a little bit behind. We were supposed to have our drought vulnerability assessment drafted at this point, but we've just started drafting it. So I'm grateful that we've gotten it started, but we're just a couple months behind where we should be. Um, the goal of this drought plan is to protect and conserve our traditional and cultural medicines, as well as help our buffalo program better manage their land. So there's a stream that goes through our our buffalo pasture, and we have about 200 to 250 buffalo depending on the time of year. And the stream will run dry sometimes. So the buffalo program has actually created like man-made depressions inside of the buffalo range in order to help collect rainwater. And so the they have somewhere to get their water from whenever the stream dries up. Um, Another issue that it would address is our agriculture runoff. So we live in the prairie and we have a lot of agriculture between cattle and farming. It's difficult to it's difficult to manage our land the ways that we would want to traditionally. We're also another issue that we experience is checkerboarded. So because of the Allotment Act and the Dawes Act, we are a checkerboarded nation. So some of our land, it's very here and there. Like you could be on the reservation on one side of the street and you walk over to the other side of the street and you're on city land or federal land. And that's something that's going to be addressed in our drought vulnerability assessment and our drought adaptation plan. We also hope to restore our local fishing spots. Since we do live along the river, our tribe has a lot of fishermen. And due to those issues of drought and agriculture runoff, it makes it difficult for people to sustain those traditional practices of providing for their family through fishing. Also, the cottonwood is a very culturally significant tree to a lot of the Plains tribes. It's used in a lot of ceremonies in a lot of different types of ways. That the cottonwood most commonly grows um, around water, essentially. And and we're currently in a drought right now that was addressed, and we have been in a drought for about past 2.5 years. Um, that's something that we worry about. So we have along the river, when the shoreline is really low, those cottonwoods that are used to being stabilized or stabilizing the bank, sometimes they will die and then fall into the river or fall back onto the land. And we lose those we lose those trees whenever these types of events happen. I think you can go to the next one. So this is a picture of our reservation here on the right. Um, this is the treaty boundary line. So when it gets down to it's very here and there checkerboarded, but this is what our treaty boundary looks like. So as you can see, we're right there along the Missouri River, and we have a total of one, two, three, four tribal communities, and there's also a multitude of smaller communities, non-tribal. Um, so we work. Let me see. Where was I at? So I do sampling near Lake Andes, which that's a picture of Lake Andes there on the left. That was a few years ago. We did have a flood that was pretty bad. Uh, it the Lake Andes lake is a very shallow lake, but it's right across from a tribal community. So when the flood had happened, we experienced there's a highway in between the community and the lake. That flood just made the lake pour over that highway like it was nothing. And so that community unfortunately experienced a lot of loss of their homes and relocation to other communities. And some of those families had been, living in Lake Andes for generations. So it was really hard. Um, that's something that we had to go through. And I also work to sample near Marty and Dante. They're kind of small on the screen, but those are some other communities that we have. So again, these are our major impacts for our tribe and our communities. Again, flooding. That picture there on the bottom left, that is another picture of the Lake Andes flooding that happened in the housing. That was a really hard time for all of us. We also deal with the Fort Randall Dam directly above our reservation. So the Army Corps of Engineers actions definitely has an impact on our river and our river systems, which is unfortunate because we do not have any form of we don't have any form of bank stabilization along our river, and that affects our community that's down furthest towards the river. So the bank is essentially washing away due to the levels of the dam being raised and lowered constantly. We're trying to work to install riprap, and we're hoping that the drought vulnerability assessment and the drought adaptation plan will have some key aspects that um, address that erosion along the river. And then it will also work to address our wildfires that we have. We had just had one a few weeks ago, and it was pretty bad. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Sorry, I'm working from home and I have my daughter here. But yeah, we work. we're working to address the wildfires. There since the drought is coming on to 3 years now, we have been experiencing more wildfires than we normally would. I think in the past couple months, we've had probably, I want to I want to say about 3 or 4, which is kind of a lot for us. And luckily, they were taken control of by our emergency management team and our local firefighters. But there was one that was spreading pretty quickly. It was hot, it was dry, it was windy that day, and it had a lot of people concerned about our communities and how drought is affecting us, and it's getting closer and closer. So we also work so my program, when I sample for the water locations that I have, the sites that I have, um, I work to address the agriculture runoff that exists. So I will sample for, E. coli and heavy metals and pesticides, herbicides, all those fun things. It just depends on the time of year and the type of sampling that I'm doing. So we've done soil sampling as well for the Lake Andes Lake. That was really interesting. And we've also worked to sample for PFAS, those forever chemicals inside of some of our water systems. And the main issues that we have is trying to get all of this done is the time and money constraint. So we are a rather large tribe. We have about 9,000 enrolled members, but only 2,000 members actually live within the treaty boundaries of the reservation. And we also live in an area where it's very rural, so there's not a lot of job opportunities. The tribe is always working to expand their capacity and include as many people on our teams as we can. But currently, I am the only water resource manager in my tribe, and that's made it kind of difficult. But with the help of the emergency management team, the Brownfields program, with the help of the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance and other surrounding tribes, we're working to just build more and have more resources and more professional and expertise within our departments. And then I think money is an issue for a lot of tribes, which is unfortunate, but with the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance's assistance, applying for more grants definitely helps open more opportunity, helps us gain more opportunities to have more financial stability. And yeah, like I said, the main issue that we deal with though is definitely that our tribe is checkerboarded, which is so unfortunate. But if we work to have community outreach meetings and reservation and on off reservation as well. So we work to gather input from everybody that lives within our treaty boundaries, whether they're tribal members or non-tribal members, in order to help tackle these issues. Because, you know, we may not we may not all be enrolled in the same tribe, but we still live on the same land. So I think it's important whenever we include those non-tribal members that live within the treaty boundaries. I'm sure that they want to take care of the land just as much as we do. And our tribal water code is still being drafted. It's a rather lengthy process because we have to I'm working with the tribal attorney to draft a tribal water code, which would essentially help our tribe establish more water rights within our treaty boundaries. And the main obstacle we have is that um, the way that my tribe is structured, we're structured so that the general council is the remaining body. So the general council is essentially everyone that is enrolled within the tribe. So when decisions are made that affects everyone in the tribe, such as a tribal water code or any type of code for that matter, we have to seek the acceptance of general council, and it's essentially like a town hall meeting, but we all get a vote. So getting everybody on board with every single detail of the tribal water code hasn't been easy, but we're definitely still working with the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance and with the other tribal programs that exist in our tribe to help establish a water code that everyone deems fit for our tribe. Yeah, I think I covered everything. I'm just really grateful for Kinzer and Jana and Osmal and Renique and Doug. They have helped my tribe greatly to move forward in a lot of different environmental and especially water protection and water rights. And I've learned so much working with them. They're they're so awesome.
Thanks, Isabel. I was trying to react with a heart. Okay, that was all your slides, so we'll throw it over to Doug next. When you're ready, Doug.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Glad to be here. My name is Doug Provost. I'm the water director for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. Looks like we got over 100 people online, and I want to thank the TCR, or I want to thank Jana Kinzer and the liaisons and everybody who has put this together. And these series are very important. It's a learning tool. It's a learning tool that really helps promote and establish an awareness of who we are, where we've gone, and where we're going as tribes. And through the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance, the BIA, Resilience family, and also just workers in general, and wherever you're from and whoever you are, just being on this web series, I think is just showing that you have the awareness, the whereabouts, and the opportunity to learn about other tribes, to learn about opportunities that are happening with other tribes and areas around the United States, especially in the Great Plains, in the Upper Missouri River and Lower Missouri River Basin. It's a great thing, and I want to thank everybody before I get started on what it takes to put something on like this. So hands applause to everybody for being on, and especially ones that started this. And the ones that wrangled me into speaking today. I am not a good speaker, but I'll try and do my best. Again, my name is Doug Krogos. I'm the Director of Water Resources, and I'm also with the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance. The Water Alliance was established to help the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association of the Upper Great Plains and the Upper Missouri River tribes, to establish, preserve, protect, and to educate on Indian water rights in the Upper Missouri River, with the tribes, basically promoting and defining and educating and protecting and preserving our treaty water rights as Ocheti Shakoi, or as tribes in the Upper Great Plains, in Upper Missouri Basin. So the Water Alliance just kind of explains, promotes, and also educates the chairmans as a technical arm for water resources development projects, and also treaty rights and rights that are being eroded every day by either this administration or last administration, or for hundreds of years. We want to make sure that uh, that everybody is understanding what's going on. So thank you again for allowing us to be on this call. I'll do the best that I can. I don't think I could change the slide, but real quick, where I'm located is okay. Well, let's go to let's okay. I don't know who's doing the bubble, but over to the left, we have a great picture in Colorado. A few years ago, I was yeah, yes, I was a few pounds heavier. I don't like this picture at all. I should have been in the middle. Uh, there's me on the right, Jana right next to me, Renique, who is Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance Executive Director. I don't know if she's on, but if she is, hi Renique. Kinzer in the middle or in the black next to her. Kinzer's on. Thank you, Kinzer. Nice shoes, by the way. I always said those are the best shoes I've ever seen in a picture that we have. And then to the left, we have we have Osmal. And Osmal is a grad PhD student who is really educating communities of about resiliency and planning and droughts, water rights. Yeah, he is from another country, but they have the same issues. Government inflictions on rights to indigenous communities. So that's the team that I work with, and they do a great job, and it's going to be a pleasure to continue working with them for the next, however long we can go 5, 10 years, hopefully. And then of course the Standing Rock Sioux Indian Reservation is located the border of North and South Dakota, right along the Missouri River or Lake Oahe. We're about 2.3 million acres. Right now I'm located in Fort Yates. If you look, I'm right at the Fort, yeah, right there. That's where I'm located. I'm from a little community below McIntosh in the middle, down by the N in reservation. The N in reservation, if you go down, there's a little community called Rock Creek or Bullhead, and that's where Sitting Bull, as people or Sitting Bull's family and relatives were from, where we were relocated, and this is where we lived along the Grand River. And that's of course where he was killed back in 1890. It's right there, and that's where I'm from, where my dad is from. So, and that is our Standing Rock Sioux tribal symbol. So next, okay. Oh, okay. So the Dakota Access Pipeline, they want me to talk about this. So the Dakota Access Pipeline, if you guys know, back in 2014 and 15, Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, the Department of Water Resource, and the THPO office, we got a letter from the Army Corps of Engineers saying that there's going to be a possible pipeline that is going to cross the river, the Missouri River, above Bismarck, North Dakota, which is about 79 miles north of us. And the Bismarck is, of course, as you know, in North Dakota, is the capital of North Dakota. And it's right on the Missouri River. Mandan is on the west side of the Missouri River, and then Bismarck is on the right side, but together they make Mandan Bismarck, and the Missouri River runs right down the middle of it. So the Dakota Access Pipeline original plan was to go north of that of Bismarck Mandan. But as you know, it got changed to another route, which is just north of Standing Rock. And we were opposed to when it was going to north of Bismarck. We had did a resolution for tribal council opposing the crossing of this really of the spiritual water of our relative. It's not a resource, it's a relative. We don't call water resources, we call it relatives, because we are water and water is us. We're no better than water and anything that we pray for every day. So we sent a letter to the Army Corps saying, you know what, this is a farce. This is a very water is life, and we oppose it. And then a couple of weeks later, we got another letter in the mail saying, "Oh, okay, well, we'll just put it north of your of Cannonball." And of course, as you know, the rest is history. But we then turned it up another notch and another gear in my department and THPO, and we started having sweats and ceremonies and talking to our people about the potential contamination of a high capacity pipeline underneath a fresh lake because it's a reservoir, or it's Oahe is a reservoir. There's no more river. When you dam up a river, it's no longer a free flowing river. It's called a reservoir or a lake. And nowhere in the United States has a high capacity volume pipeline is permitted under any lakes, any reservoirs at all. Army Corps would just not would not let that happen. So what we did was we started calling out our relatives, because at the same time, as you guys know, back in 2014 and 15 and 16, there was a Keystone XL pipeline and other pipelines that were happening. And as you know, that the Keystone XL was going from Canada, bringing tar sands to North and South Dakota and to its refinery. And it was going right through the Rosebud Indian Reservation. And so the Rosebud Indian, our relatives in Rosebud started a camp, and that camp was to prevent and stop Keystone XL. And of course, all of our relatives, Oglalas, Siston, Oyate, Blandrew, I mean, Standing Rock, Cheyenne River, we all banded down together at the camp in Rosebud to help stop that pipeline. So the concept of having a camp and coming together as relatives and praying is something that's been going on for a long time. Not just pipelines, but for a lot of things. So is it nothing that we didn't know that was new once the Dakota Access Pipeline and Energy Transfer moved their location from north of Bismarck to north of Standing Rock? And so we knew what we had to do, and we knew we had relatives, and we knew we had families from other tribes in North and South Dakota. What we didn't know is that our prayer was going to go around the world. As we always pray, and when we pray and we have ceremonies, it's always for everybody, everything on Uchimakan, on Mother Earth. There's nothing better, nothing less than on the earth than anything else. So when you pray, you pray around the world. So what we did is we asked for relatives to come and pray with us. At first, we were told that we were going to have some elders and some children from Cheyenne River, and veterans were going to come and put up a small tent and bring a couple of elders and a couple of kids and help us pray that first week. And so what we did is we found a place, and we cut the grass and we put up a teepee, some tents. Donna Allard in the Sacred Stone Camp started their camp and started praying before the tribe did down at the Ocheti camp at Sacred Stone about a month or two before we did, when it first started happening. And as you guys know, I don't know if everybody knows LaDonna Allard, but she was working up here in the THPO office next to me, and her and I every day were always plotting how we were going to continue to do get our prayers out there. So she started with her husband the Sacred Stone, and then we were praying there. Then allies started coming, and people started hearing about it through social media, phone calls, emails, what have you, and we had relatives come and start praying with us. And then it grew to about 10,000, 15,000. At one time, the camp was the third largest zip code, because it started its own zip code. We had mail out there coming out there. The mail was delivering. UPS was delivering out there. It had its own zip code, but we were the third largest population. I don't know. Town, I guess, in North Dakota. We even had an elementary school out there. We had kids that were coming with their parents, and their parents didn't want to come because kids didn't want to miss school. So what we did is we started a K through, was it six? I think it was K through six school out there, where we had educators come out. And so when people brought their families and stayed for a long period of time, we gave them instructions through a curriculum that was promoted through the North Dakota Century or North Dakota School. uh I can't remember what it's called, but we had certified teachers. So they were missing school. They were actually going to school at the camp. Had a post office, had a delivery. I mean, it was just own town. It just morphed into what people who did, you know. It was nonviolent. We were told by in ceremony, no violence, and no and do it in peace, right? And have your and it also said your children and your elders will help fight. So putting them out in front is kind of what we were told to do. And no weapons and no violence. So as you guys know, what happened. I don't want to go into that because I could talk for a week on DAPL. My memoirs will come out after the pipeline is stopped. So Doug Krogos, no DAPL memoirs. No, I'm kidding. That'll come out soon after this pipeline is shut the hell down. So we have ongoing litigations right now. Thank you for all the hearts, you guys. I'm trying to figure out how to do that too. I'm on Zoom a lot, but you guys are terrific. Thank you for clapping. Ongoing litigations for DAPL. As you guys know, the EIS environmental impact study should only been about 18 months, and it's going on 4 years now. So it's probably the longest EIS NEPA process that I've ever known anything that ever happened, and that's because it's political. With this administration, the first thing that this president did was sign an executive order to allow the pipeline to go, but the EIS still needed to happen. So the EIS commenting period was over, and now we're waiting on the ROD or the record of decision. That's part of the problem. Once the record of decision comes out, then we can litigate. We can go forward with finish our litigation as Judge Boasberg in DC had announced to our first the first litigation we went through a few years ago. What he said was, come back after the rod's done when you could litigate over the not just the EIS, but what we did is we were litigating over other important information that's happening with this the illegal pipeline, other than what the DEPA process and the EIS is saying, right? So there's two things that are happening. Actually, there's three, but one is the EIS and litigating after the rod's over, and the other one is what we litigated last year. I think it was August. No, it was October, and that's over treaty rights 106, the destruction of cultural sites, and also the administrative record process. So that's ongoing litigation that's still happening today. So once the ROD comes out, and we asked the Department of Justice about 2 weeks ago, when is the record of decision for the EIS for DAPL coming out? And they told us a couple of months. And the Army Corps of Engineers, we don't I don't know if there's any Corps members on here, but you guys lie. All right, you guys are in bed with the big corporations and stuff. But anyway, I don't want to get that. I didn't see any hearts on that one. But so that's going on right now, and that's where the litigation is. And so we really want what we'll do is we'll get it out in social media once our litigation starts up again. And that way, when we go to court in DC, we'll have a big following. One of the things about the litigation is that Army Corps of Engineers has about 14 states backing them up in litigation, and a lot of money and a lot of lawyers, high capacity lawyers. We don't. So anyway, all right, moving on. Thank you very much, whoever's doing that. Our water code. So Standing Rock was one of the first in the nation to have a water code adopted in 1983. What water code does basically, like Issabelle said, is we get to give out permits for water use on the reservation, just like states do. States have their own water permitting process, where if you're going to draw water for anything, you have to go to the state, and they go to a commission. The commission agrees or disagrees for that permit, and then you can use water up to so much and at a certain price. Well, in 1983, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe adopted our water code, and then we have had our own water code in Standing Rock, where when anybody comes in to use water within the boundaries of the reservation, they have to come to the tribe and fill out a water permit to use any water for anything. And then we take it to our commission, and our commission looks at it, and what we look for is how much, where it's at, the availability, if it's aquifer, if it's ground, if it's surface, what's downstream, what's the flow. We take into consideration everything because we want to be able to use our water as much as we can on for our water rights, but we also want to have enough water for the next 200 to 300 years for the generations to come, and be able to control our own future of our own water. And that's what a water code does. Conservation for future use, protecting our water availability for next 7 generations, and water permitting for like construction, irrigation, and municipal use. You can go on our website, standingrock.org, and just type in water code title 34, and it'll give you all the information, and even you can have a water code one day. But what's happening right now, real quick before you go to the next slide, is we're having tribes after the moratorium. There was a moratorium back in the 90s that no tribes would have water codes anymore. That moratorium was lifted during we do Winter's doctrine is a huge thing, whoever Howard Brown is. That is one of our basis of having a water code. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so the water code is something that really helps, promote a future use. So it's very important that everybody. Oh, the moratorium was lifted by Deb Haaland, the Department of Interior, a few years ago. So after that moratorium was lifted on water codes for any, tribes started, going to the chalkboard and drafting up their water codes so that they could have their own water codes and permitting process on their reservation to save for future use or wherever else. But they're having problems right now because the Army Corps of Engineers does not recognize water codes anywhere. And then the BIA is I don't know if I should use the word reneging, but they're not identifying some of our nation's water codes right now because it's happening so quick, and tribes are trying to really take control of their water, land, and resources, or relatives on the reservation. Next slide. Which leads me to a water budget. Quantification is a huge thing in Indian country. Right now, as you guys know, the population boom and extraction and oil and gas extraction and mining really needs a lot of water. And then with population expansion in the West and everywhere, people need water. And with drought coming and global warming and climate change, places where there was abundance of water, now there isn't. It's just drying up our aquifers. The Ogallala aquifer is drying up. The Columbia is drying up. Especially the Colorado. I mean, that's the big thing. And so Indian water rights are being affected because they're not quantified, or they don't have rights, or they're not addressing. The states are not addressing water rights for tribes. And so what's been happening is tribes are starting to quantify the word quantification of water rights. You don't want to do that. Look at the Montana tribes and what happened to some of them. I'm not saying that's bad or it's good, but what it does is when you quantify your water, you're putting a number on it that the government and the states are going to really hold you to. And a lot of times they hold you to a percent of what the water is. So 100% of this water availability of, I don't know, 16,000 CFS, and you quantify at 5%. Well, at drought, it's going to be 10,000 CFS. Well, do you still think you get your 15% or your 5% of the 15? No, you're getting 5% of 10. thousand. So to me, quantification isn't really a good thing right now, especially with all the straws being put into the Missouri River, these multi-million, 100 million, or billion-dollar straws that are being pumped over to the west, pumped to the east for mining or for population or for irrigation or for United States security. I mean, I've heard it all. Trust me. What we did with Standing Rock is we created a $200 a 200-year water budget for beneficial use for the tribe. That we're going to take to Congress and have them pass. But what we're doing is we're identifying it with the state of North and South Dakota, who we're going to need in Congress to pass our bill for our water budget. It's not a quantification, it's a budget. So that's what we're doing. Standing Rock, we do have treatment as a state too, and that's really doing a good job. All right, keep moving. See, I told you I don't like talking. This is just one of the last visual. I'm a visual person. I'm a man. Lakota, Hunkpapa, and I like visual. I like so as you see on the left, this is the Upper Missouri River um area, and this is all the tribes that are along the Missouri River. These aren't all the tribes, these are just the ones along the Missouri River. And every one of these tribes has the same song about water and the same song about the Missouri River and the same prayers for the Army Corps of Engineers, the master manual, the annual operating plan, and the desecration of their lands along the river. The lands along the river are being eroded, desecrated at an alarming rate. It's a land grab. It's a federal process by a federal organization that is taking Indian land away along the banks of the Missouri. And guess who's in trust responsibility to protect those lands? The BIA, the DOI, the Department of Defense. They're supposed to be watching out for our lands. And at the same time, they're stealing our lands into the river through Issabelle said, through mismanagement of the Missouri rivers. So all these tribes here have issues with the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put that up. Percentage of American Indians and Alaska Natives by county within the Missouri River Basin. You see all these counties within the Missouri River Basin that really are going to be affected through climate change and global warming, the annual operating plan, snow melt, whatever equations that are used in order for the annual operating plan by the Army Corps of Engineers. All these counties are affected all the time. The red line is Dakota Access Pipeline. I don't know why that's on there. I just took this from one of my files. So and as you can see, Dakota Access Pipeline affects all of these waterways when it breaks. Proposed pipeline. It wasn't proposed then. So that's kind of why I wanted to put that up. The Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance and the Great Plains Chairman's Association really look at these images or these maps and to defend. This is what we're defending as Native country, Native American, the Great Plains Water Alliance. Our charge is not just our reservation. Our charge is the Great Basin. And now that um, uh, other states are trying to take water from the Missouri River Basin, we're going to have to stick together one of these days. I don't care who you are, what state you are, we're going to have to stick together and protect our fresh water of the Missouri River. That is the lifeline and the lifeblood of the United States. It's the freshest, one of the largest, freshest bodies of water that we have in the world. So this is kind of what our charge is. This is why I had that map up. Next, I think that's the last one. Thank you. Questions? Sorry, I'm not a good speaker, you guys. I don't like to talk. I'm very shy. Kinzer, Jana, any questions?
That was great. No, thank you for sharing everything. Sorry, that was me writing it. So yeah, I was making you go quicker. But yeah, I think now we can open it up for questions for Issabelle or Doug.